have had a lot of fun with this speaker. Let me just say that she was going to speak on a different topic, but after we spoke a few dozen or so times, we got into another topic, which is absolutely perfect for her, and it has been a joy working with her. So this is the best part of my job, is finding out more about people. So she started coaching in February of 2015, just about 4 years ago. She's currently a 5-star diamond, and she is a 2019 elite coach. And she is an SC10 All-Star legend, which you are a legend if you have achieved Success Club 24 months in a row or more. And she's hit it 50 months. So congratulations to her. And I have been wanting to say this town for a long time. Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada. She is from Saskatchewan. Okay, everybody say it right now to yourself, Saskatchewan. All right, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Marie Barker. Marie, nice to see you. You look gorgeous.
Thank
Hi.
you. I'm so excited.
Oh, I'm so excited for you. We have had a good time together.
This is true. And I was laughing when you were saying we changed the script, because we did flip it a couple times.
We did. And you know what? If the script doesn't fit, then flip it. That's how I think about it. So I'm going to let you take it away and share with everyone how and why you came to Beachbody as a coach.
Absolutely. So first of all, it is such an honor to be on this call. I actually am like sweating and so excited. I've been waiting for this for 4 years. But coaching came into my life when I needed it most, as I think it does for many of us. January of 2015, I was just beginning my new career as a high school teacher. I was also at the worst place mentally that I'd ever been in, I think. I was struggling with depression, panic attacks, and my autoimmune disease flare-ups were constant. But instead of facing my demons and focusing on healing, I used working 3 jobs and staying super busy as my coping mechanism. Not super healthy. And I truly believe that we're always in the right moment at the right time. So one day after I got home from teaching, I was scrolling Facebook, which was actually something that I rarely did. And I saw an old girlfriend's post on Facebook, just a silly flexing photo. We hadn't spoken in literally years, but I messaged her to ask what she had been doing that had her looking so happy and healthy. And she explained that she was a Beachbody coach, and then she actually invited me to her next 21 Day Fix challenge group back when it was on DVDs. I have so many dietary restrictions, so I told her that I was going to look into Shakeology and the ingredients, and then I'd get back to her. So I did some Google research, and a couple days later, I messaged her saying that I was all in and I wanted to join, and I was even thinking about coaching. I put my first challenge pack on my visa, even though I was broke as a joke new student teacher, but I was ready for change. I was super desperate to feel better, and I just had a feeling that this would be my answer. So anyways, I dove in to the 21 Day Fix workouts before school every morning, and I even gave up wine for all 3 weeks, which was a really big deal for me. But yeah, my energy when I started the program was super low, and slowly it started to improve. Like I said before, I struggled with IBS and an autoimmune disease, so my digestion was always a challenge for me. And Shakeology, in the first couple weeks, I could not even believe it, was helping to regulate my gut and my digestion for the first time in literally years. So as somebody who dealt with this struggle for so long, this was enough to turn me into a believer, hands down. After just 3 weeks of drinking it and doing the workouts, I was hooked. I was in. I didn't know how, but I knew that this was going to be my new path. This was going to be my new career. I signed up as a coach and haven't looked back since.
Well, just so I don't get legal on me, you making a claim about Shakeology and helping your gut.
Yes.
You got healthy, and that helped you tackle what you needed to tackle. So
Yes.
I just have to do my part there. But so why don't you talk about, thank you, by the way, for sharing that, because people are saying that they were a teacher too and dealing with a lot of the same things that you were dealing with. And I'm sure that's going to come out also in what you're talking about today. But when you were prepping for this call, it was a little challenging for you. So let's talk about why this topic, and then just go right into the topic, okay?
Sure. All right. So like Sandy said, prepping for this call was actually not a little bit, Sandy, it was very challenging for me. I just have this habit of overcomplicating things. I don't know if you guys relate. And I just find myself getting caught up in perfectionism. I have always been an overachiever. Keeping things simple is not easy for me. I want to do all the things and I want to do them really well. I have all these ideas and I love being creative, and I'm also a major people pleaser. So basically a triple threat. But when I began coaching, I didn't have any spare time at all. So my power hour tasks, like my invites, my follow-ups, checking into challenge groups, answering messages, I did this early enough each morning before my workout when I knew that nobody was going to be online, so they couldn't respond to me. At that point, I knew if I just knocked it out, then I could get it done. And then when I had pockets in my day, I would do my other tasks. So for example, at recess, I would quickly post something from my personal development book that I read that morning on social media, or on a bathroom break, I would check into my Facebook group and answer challengers' questions. I listened to the National Wake Up Call in my car on my lunch breaks, instead of being in the staff room. And I scheduled my challenge group posts on the weekends. I recorded videos of myself answering common objections so that I could send those to people instead of typing up my answers. I had a Google Doc that came with me everywhere I went with the most common links and scripts that I used. I gave every spare moment that I had to coaching and learning about coaching. But honestly, looking back, so much of the time I was just being busy, not productive. And I was burning out. I didn't have a shred of balance in my life. I was attached to my phone. I was always on. My anxiety was at an all-time high, and I was struggling to help my new coaches see success in their businesses too. So that went on for a couple of years. And in June of 2017, I completed my final teaching contract. Oh man, and I decided to step away from the classroom for good, which totally flabbergasted my parents, of course. They thought I was crazy. But for the first time in years, I honestly felt like I could breathe again. Teaching is a beautiful career of service, but it's also super challenging, and it was contributing to my burnout big time. And I knew that with coaching, I could carry on teaching just in a different capacity. And I was so, so excited to dive in as a full-time coach. This was my dream. This is what I'd worked so hard for. I was so ready for that time freedom. But when I dove into full-time coaching, I actually found it really challenging to set proper work hours and boundaries. I was so used to working all day, every day, that even though I now only had one job instead of three, I carried on with my workaholic ways, and I spent way more time than necessary doing coach work every single day. And because of this, because of my obsession, my coaches assumed that they had to spend hours working the business too, which deterred so many of them from the get-go. I found myself spending more time scrolling social media. I was looking for ideas. I started comparing myself to other coaches. I watched training videos. I started creating new checklists and coach trainings, a website, a blog, and suddenly it became harder than it had ever been for me to even hit Success Club 10, which is my non-negotiable. Even though I was a full-time coach, I had just completely overcomplicated my business. And I share all of this honestly because I think that so many of us assume that if we just had more time, then we'd be more successful. But the truth is, even if you're crazy busy, your issue isn't actually time, it's just indecision. And I see this happen all the time with new coaches diving into the learning materials, and then they never actually take action and start because they become so overwhelmed and they develop analysis paralysis, right? So anyways, things started to really shift for me last year in January, and it's why I'm actually really excited to talk about this call. When my Success Club partner and my best friend, who was my only personally sponsored Star Diamond coach at the time, told me that she was overwhelmed by coaching and that she was stepping away from it. And up until that point, we had run challenge groups together. We had weekly work dates together. We traveled to all the events together. We even hit 1-star diamond in the same month as each other and got to celebrate. So this really shook me up. Like, this was my best friend who I was running the business with. And it made me realize that what I had done up until that point was no longer serving me. I had successfully overcomplicated my entire business, overwhelmed my team, and it took my best friend stepping down from coaching for me to really dig in internally and figure out what I needed to do next. So last year, after I completely reevaluated my coaching business and put into place some new practices, our team actually went from a shaky 1-star diamond team in January to a 5-star elite team in August. And I just wanted to share some of the simple shifts that I made to create more simplicity, more growth, and duplication in my downline. So Sandy, just let me know if I can continue with that.
You're doing great. I want you to just raise your voice a tiny bit, but keep going.
Sure, sounds great. Okay, so I'm going to share with you guys some of the simple shifts that I made to create more simplicity, growth, and duplication in my downline. And if you're a note taker and a list maker like I am, I've got them in a little list here. So number one, we started running challenge groups as a team, whereas before it was just me creating my own groups and posting all of my own content. And this was such a simple shift and time saver because we could split up the posting responsibility and create more engagement in our groups by having more of us helping out with questions and daily content. And I found that my coaches were interacting more with each other and their challengers, developing relationships across the board. And I know the ones who work full time appreciated the lighter workload with us sharing the responsibility of posting. And doing the same program all together created so much awesome FOMO and continues to create so much awesome FOMO for people who are watching us on social media. So I found that it just helped everybody in the group. It helped me attract more clients. It helped my coaches. It basically just helped everyone get better results. So number two, to create more team growth, I started delegating team calls to my leaders and asking them to go live in our team page to share their best practices. These sound so simple because they are, but because I had overcomplicated, these were so necessary to implement. And asking my leaders to help out with team calls helped them become more confident in themselves, which is everything. It also helped the other coaches to hear from different perspectives other than me. It reduced the workload for me, which was really nice. And splitting the responsibility of hosting team calls and team power hours among us leaders helped to create a schedule of calls that went on months in advance. So that also helped to create more organization in our months and calendars as well. Number three, I added a short invite script examples document to our team page so that the coaches in my downline could have examples of simple invites and follow-ups. And now most of our team practices inviting the people who watches our stories and the people who like our social media posts daily. No more overcomplicated forming. Social media has evolved and it used to be that you'd form somebody, which is a series of questions about that person, trying to find common ground and establish this like really intense relationship before you even bring up Beachbody or an invite. And my team is all about developing relationships, but this is just a much more simple way of inviting the people who are already curious about your posts. They're already watching. So we're just asking them if they want more information about a group or if they want to learn about coaching. And since we're all consistently posting about our vitals every single day anyways, the people watching our stories have a general idea of what we're doing. So it's not just a cold invite. I always like to say inviting takes no talent. It's just doing it daily that makes all the difference in growing a coaching business. So these scripts have really helped to simplify the invitation process for my coaches, for myself, and many of them have seen improved Success Club numbers because of implementing them, which is a huge score.
Marie, I'm stopping you at number 3. And by the way, everybody, she has 2 more. But the reason why I'm stopping you is because you said to me that you were a doer of all things, that you took care of everybody and everything, and it just was not duplicating down beyond you. So when you're talking about the scripts that you created, with examples, did that make your coaches feel like they were using your words, or did they take your scripts as a guideline and then put their own words into it? So it made it more their own and that you weren't just doing everything for them.
Yeah, totally. I always say, like, if this isn't the language that you use, change the language, but the scripts were so simple that it could be tailored to anybody, that they just, entailed, hey, somebody's first name, I see you've been watching my stories. Are you interested in joining a program? Let me know and I'll shoot you more info. Like, they were so simple and to the point. The follow-ups are so simple. The invites were so simple that if they did want to tailor them to their language and add or subtract any words or verbiage from the script, they can. You know, I always try to encourage my coaches just to be themselves, like everybody else has taken. So just be yourself, and your enthusiasm and your personality will come through in your conversations better than any solid script ever would. So.
Okay, so go on with number 4. Sorry for interrupting you.
No, that's great. Okay, so number 4, I started a couple group chat pods on Facebook Messenger, and I've heard other coaches using Voxer or different apps. So we use Facebook Messenger for my new coaches in a pod, and my diamond coaches in a pod, emerald coaches. These are just really simple group chats that I just create and name them something like April New Coaches or Diamond Leader Pod. And then I add the coaches who fit into each category into that specific group chat. And this has been so amazing for holding each other accountable, building relationships. I don't have to be the one that answers the questions all the time. You know, I find that the coaches in there answer each other's questions in the chat. And I just found that there were starting to become so many Facebook groups that it was kind of getting hard to keep track of people. With algorithms shifting, people weren't seeing important posts that I wanted them to see. So the pods have worked so well for us this year, and especially using the voice note feature. A lot of the coaches on my team love using that feature because you can do it on the run if you need to. And it's an awesome way to stay in contact and hear their voices, even if we don't get to see each other in person. We live in different cities, different countries even. So that's a really cool feature that we like to use often. And number 5, most importantly, actually, best for last here, my whole team now uses the Success Club system tracker to track their coach work and keep it super simple. I've always advocated using a checklist, especially as a teacher. I think it's so important. But the Success Club system tracker has made such a huge difference in duplication and growth. And it really just makes it easy to help a struggling coach target where they need to improve. You know, you just look at the boxes that are continually unchecked. So I ran a private group for coaches who wanted to test out the Success Club system tracker earlier this year. And for 8 weeks, we all committed to using it daily. And then they submitted their completed tracker at the end of each week for accountability to me. And I want to mention this, while I don't have them submit their tracker to me anymore, because I do believe that we are all independent Team Beachbody coaches. I got that one from Daniel Latoni, thank you. And everybody's independently responsible for their own success. But I did notice that the coaches who use the trackers consistently are the same coaches who are hitting Success Club. They're the same coaches who are onboarding new coaches and rank advancing and enjoying their businesses more and keeping it simple. So using the tracker helps to uncomplicate your business, which is what this is all about, because you just follow the checklist and get it done, you know, and some days you don't check off all the boxes, which is okay. I just encourage my coaches to use it as feedback and just to check out any areas that you might be avoiding, like inviting, which is where most coaches avoid. So those are my 5 tips.
That was great. And, you know, I want to clarify something about uncomplicating the business, because a lot of times we say, just make it simple, just simplify. But the steps to do this business are many. Okay. It is working the business. It is inviting. It is personal development. It is doing your workouts, drinking your shake. And all these things, it's not that they're hard to do, but if you simplify it, then you're missing out on telling people how to do it. Mm-hmm. So I think that the word uncomplicated is a better use of words than simplify, because simplify just means dumbing down. We're not dumbing anything down. We're uncomplicating it because it's not complicated. So I love what you've been saying, and I wanted to ask, now you were overcomplicating things. Where do you see now your new coaches making things more difficult or complicated than it has to be? Like, where in their coaching do you see people getting stuck in complicated stuff?
2 things. The first thing is that information, like paralysis analysis. I see coaches thinking that they need to know everything and figure it all out before they start, which is not true at all. Like, if you signed up as a coach, you know more than somebody who hasn't signed up as a coach. So you're good to go. And then the second thing I see, which is something that I was guilty of as well, is comparison. You see all of these coaches being successful with this business, and there are so many different ways that you can see success with this business. So for myself personally, what I did that overcomplicated it is I tried to appropriate all the different ways that all these coaches were using, trying to do all the things, and then you just end up overwhelming yourself and you're spread too thin, when all you really need to do is print off your tracker, show up on your journey, and then just do the thing every single day.
I love it. I love it. Just do the thing. Wow, if Nike just hadn't coined that slogan, come on, guys. So, okay, why don't you talk about, this is the closing of the call, personal fulfillment for you. What has been the most rewarding thing for you about coaching?
Oh my gosh. Okay. When I started coaching 4 years ago, all I dreamed of was to be able to retire myself from the classroom and improve my mental health. Oh, I'm going to get emotional. I didn't think I would. And I didn't want to live my life with alarms and school bells dictating how my time was spent. I craved a different path. Every day felt so stressful to me, and it was honestly negatively affecting my health and my relationship. I remember my very first summit, actually, at one of the workshops. Ali Upham posed this question, and it rocked me, like, to my core. She said, if Carl Daikeler called you tomorrow morning to inform you that Beachbody was closing down and you would no longer have access to the workouts, to Shakeology, to the coaching opportunity, challenge groups, etc., how would your life be different? And it crushed me. The thought of that crushed me. We were given time to journal out our responses, and I couldn't even put pen to paper until later that day. I was so emotional. Around the time that Beachbody came into my life, I was really struggling with my mental health. And more specifically, I was diagnosed with PTSD from a sexual assault that happened when I was 19. And I silently struggled with depression and anxiety for a long time. And I just couldn't seem to let it go and heal my mind. So when personal development got brought into my life, alongside the other vital behaviors, not only did I start to get in the best shape of my life physically, but mentally as well. Beachbody coaching has also allowed me to replace my teaching income, which is what I set out to accomplish in the first place back in 2015. Being able to work from home on my own schedule is the most empowering work I've ever experienced, and I get to make a full-time income from improving my own life and helping others do the same, which is so amazing. I guess insert income disclaimer right there. Anyways, I could go on and on, obviously, about how awesome coaching has been for me personally, but among all the other amazing life shifts, my renewed mental health and retiring myself from the classroom have been the most fulfilling thus far.
That was super. Thank you so much for sharing that. I know it's very personal, and this call is so short for somebody to go really deep into the personal, fulfillment in the last 4 years of you being a coach, but the growth that you've had is definitely, it seems like it's stemming from your Beachbody coaching journey. So I appreciate that. And there's people that are asking questions on the Coach 411 page. So after this call, maybe you can go in there and just tackle a few of those questions. But thank you so much, Marie, for sharing your tips about uncomplicating your coaching life.
Thank you for having me. This has been like the best piece of personal growth this month, you having me this topic.
I'm so glad my psych degree is coming in handy. Anyway, thanks, Marie. And I want to call out Kimberly Schiffler, who said, always training, never applying. So wait, can you see that? I wrote that down because it's a good reminder for everyone. And, sometimes I get my thoughts from people who are on the call, but I had this one set up, which is progress is better than perfection, because it was perfect for Marie. She was so focused on perfection that she wasn't even, moving forward, and she wasn't duplicating beyond her. So she was just in the comparison game, in the perfection game, and overcomplicating things. We're all victims of it. But hopefully this call gave some tips on how to unstick yourself. Okay. Anyway, that's it for today. Happy Monday, everybody. We'll see you here next week. Bye-bye.